Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Saturday, right? So I thought today I kind of stay on topic, and that is what happens and what policies should you have in your shop for abandoned equipment? Because if you're getting into business or you've been into business, you know that in the repair business, people will either not come get their stuff or it's like pulling teeth. So you need to have the right policy. Okay, so stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekend. Today is Saturday, January 17th of 2026. Still trying to do 25, but it's 26. So the biggest thing that you don't want to see happen, but it's going to happen, right? And that is you put faith in the customer that they're going to pay you, right? And they drop their machine off or you go pick it up and you do the work, you give them a call and crickets. Now what? Well, it depends. The first thing you need to do as a repair shop, right, is post what you're charging per hour where everybody can see it when they come in to your main area that they pay you and stuff or that they drop the stuff off. Your shop hour is displayed for everybody to see. And then any other policy that you think is prevalent. And that is A, storage. Because if it hasn't been picked up after X number of days or weeks, a storage fee is going to be incurred or it can be incurred. That needs to be displayed. It's not telling the customer, well, if you don't pick it up, this is why it doesn't fly. It won't fly. If you have it posted where they can see it. And the other thing is we don't do it as much anymore because I'm kind of selective of who we're dealing with customers, as known customers, is on the paperwork that the customer got back when we filled up the slip, it had all that stuff right there. It had that if you didn't pick it up within a week, you could incur storage fees. If you didn't pick it up after a month or two, it would be deemed abandoned and we could do with it as we wish to try to recoup our costs. Those things have to be displayed, and also it had our hourly rate on it. That way the customer could not come back and say, well, I didn't know. Well, it's the customer's responsibility to read your stuff too, right? When you give it to them. But if you're like me, every customer that comes through the door, I'm going to treat them as a good paying customer until they do otherwise, all right? And we've had slow pay customers in the past, don't get me wrong. And I know the ones that are struggling a little bit and just need a little bit more time. And I worked with people doing so much a month payment. And on the ones that were iffy, I still held the machine until the machine was paid for. And for the ones that I knew that would give the shirt off their back to you, I would say, go ahead and take it and pay me what you can when you can. And I'll tell you, I'll be all straight up honest with you. The ones that didn't have the money were the first ones there to pay. The ones that had the money were the ones that I had to chase. Yeah, it's not nice to say that and single out a group of people, but that's exactly what it was. And we haven't had it so much, in the last year because I am selective of who I have. But if you have a policy where they can read it and see it, the last thing you want is you have your time, the parts, into it. All right. And if they if they abandon it, if it's a running and driving machine, you probably can recoup both. If it's a sellable machine, you can recoup both. If it's in rough shape to begin with, here's another thing. And it's going to be shop by shop, or you guys that are do-it-yourselfers and stuff. You have to have kind of a standing policy internal with you and the mechanic of, we will not touch something that isn't worth fixing. It's not. And I will come right out and tell the customer, it's not worth fixing. It really is not. Because by the time, if we did it right and made it safe, it's more than the machine would be worth on a good day. So why would you want to do that? Because that kind of limits a certain select of customers, right? It's because that way you're not pouring a bunch of parts and time into a machine that you could never get your money back out of if you had to sell it if it was abandoned. And I can tell you, we had a lot of those machines. We get them given to us now. But we had a lot of those machines of customers not paying. After we did the work and got it running, we did engine swaps and they sat up on the hill and they ended up being parts machines because they weren't worth enough to try to sell it. You know, there's a market for everything, right? But usually about every 3 years, a friend of mine, he's in the salvage business. He's got an excavator with a claw, and he's got the big tractor trailer boxes that he backs in with and all the other stuff. But usually, you know, every 3 years I have him come in and just clean house. I want it all gone. And we'll get a fresh start. And are there a lot of good parts that end up getting crushed and everything else? Probably. You know, it never fails. Like we just got a Honda engine in and it's missing a part. And we had a couple of those Hondas that had blown engines that we could have scarfed the part off from. But it's no longer here. If you're going to do a salvage on it, try to take the parts back off that you put on it before you put it up in the boneyard, okay? Those are new parts, or should be. And then scarf off anything else that has a value. Carburetors, starters. If the decks are good, pull the decks and get them so they're not in the grass. Get them up on racks so that they stay in pristine condition. Because decks here sell for $150 a piece. That's what I charge. Whether it's a 42 or a 54, you know, it's $150 is what I get. Transmissions, if it's a good hydrostatic transmission, I get $100 out of those. And, you know, tires are less. I mean, we sold a lot of tires when we had the scrapper, when that friend of mine was here and he was scrapping. All of a sudden I had every Tom, Dick, and Harry in looking for tire and rims for a little bit of nothing. But yet when they are all up in the boneyard, nobody stopped. So did we sell some of those tires? Yes, I did. But you can at least scarf up the main parts off from it, especially if you're talking like Vanguards and stuff. If the engine is good, we pull the engines. We do. We put them in undercover. And unless it's an older one. If it's a single cylinder, probably not. But if we're looking at the V-twins, the Briggs, you know, some of the single cylinder Kohlers, but they were well known for taking the connecting rod, snapping, and putting a hole right through the back of the machine. Or no, it was counterweight, putting a hole right through the back of the machine. Scarf off whatever you can to try to recoup your money. And we don't do engine jobs anymore. We used to do a lot of them. We will do engine swaps. That, if we know that we have a really good engine or a donor, excuse me, and somebody, the engine they have is a worn out puppy, we will do an engine swap. And it's $10 a horse plus time. and that's paid for up front. I'm not putting another engine in and buttoning everything down without having any money up front. And that's another policy that you can do as a shop. It's totally up to you. Is before you turn a wrench on it, do a diagnostic and see what you got to do and what you got to have. Make a list, and then, some shops require so much down. And usually the down is to cover the parts that are going to be put onto it, and then the labor is tacked on at the end. There are very few instances of where I've asked the customer for a dime up front. And I don't know, I guess it makes me feel like if I can't afford to put the parts into it, then am I a reputable shop, of having enough income to be able to do that. Now on the tractor stuff, when we're talking, having to go out and buy a transmission for a tractor, you're damn well right. I'll tell them where to go, and they can go and get it and pay for it and bring it back to me. Or I can arrange to have the trailer there to get it loaded, but they're going to meet me there, and they're going to pay whoever for that part. And then we'll go from there. I've done that before. But the biggest thing I can tell you is you need to have a policy where everybody can read it, everybody can see it. And if you don't, it's just not on a gentleman's agreement. You just can't take somebody's lawnmower that you put time and money into and then turn around, and if they don't pay for it within a few weeks, turn around and sell it. Because then you could have the law in your front steps for selling basically stolen property. Unless it's spelled out. We've had instances of where the sheriff's department showed up. All these guys are good guys. I know most of them, and they know now. But when they first came, I showed them the wall where everybody can see it. I showed on the paperwork of what the customer gets when they drop a piece of equipment off. It's all spelled out here. And I can show them when the work was done and then how long it transpired that I allowed that machine to sit there without getting anything back. And it was my money that was out. So what direction would I rather do? I'd rather have the customer pay me in full. That way it covers my labor and the parts. If I end up parting it out, then a lot of times I get back just what I got into the parts. So I lost the labor on it. If it's a running and driving machine, then usually I can get, for the most part, both the parts and labor back. But I'm the type of person that I will call you 3 to 4 different times, leave a message on your answer machine if need be, send a text to you, what have you, and say, you have until this date, and then I'm going to consider it abandoned, and I'm going to do with it as I please. I try to be as forthright and transparent as possible with all my customers. But if one of my customers does that to me, when they come with something else, what's the answer? Sorry, I don't have time. I don't care if there isn't a thing in the yard. Sorry, I don't have time. Because I'm not going to get dicked around again. So on that note, put in the comments, you guys that are doing this, even with the auto repair shops and stuff, you must have accumulated stacks over the years like I have of non-paying customers. And I don't need a write-off. I got a big enough write-off already. If you don't have a policy in place where everybody can see it, you can't just decide you're going to do X, Y, and Z. If you do, you're going to get in trouble. So on that note, you guys have a great Saturday, and we'll see you here probably for the Sunday sermon. Enjoy your weekend.